Tonight's homework is on the percent equation. Our objective is I can solve percent problems using a tape diagram and the percent equation. For one of the problems, I'll show you using a tape diagram, but for the other two, we're going to strictly stick to the percent equation that we're working on in class today. So for the first one, what is 25% of 360? First method would be our tape diagram, and we remember we need to get up to 100%. So we're talking about 25% of 360. You could chunk it by 25%, then 50, then 75%, then 100. So I broke my tape diagram into 4 parts, and this one would be 0%. That first section would represent 25%. Up the first 2 sections get us to 50%. The first 3 sections get us to 75%, and the entire tape diagram would represent 100%. What is 25% of 360? So 360 is the total. Total always goes around along the bottom. So if I take 360 and now divide it into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, 360 divided by 4, that means we'll have 90 in each part. And we're looking for 25% of 360. That means we're just looking for 90. 90 would be 25% of 360. I want to also do this problem using the percent equation because that's what we're really going to be focusing on in 7th grade. When it's hard to draw a tape diagram because maybe we're doing 28% or 32%. 25% is pretty easy, but when we're not dealing with percents that are easy, we want to use the percent equation. So for our percent equation, it's part equals percent times the whole. Keep in mind the word what means X. So when I see what, I put down an X. The word is means equals. So I put equals. The word of means to multiply. So when I see this word of, I'm going to multiply. And you must remember to change the percent to a decimal or a fraction. And we worked on that Monday in class. We did our bingo to practice converting between various forms. I'm going to take 25% and I'm going to choose to write it as a decimal. You might also want to write it as a fraction if that's easier for you. Of means to multiply and then 360. So X will equal 0.25 times 360. So I'm going to take 360 and multiply by 0.25. I probably should have converted to a decimal. It may have been easier. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 6 is 30. Put down a 0. Carry a 3. 5 times 3 is 15. Plus 3 is 18. Put down a 0 as a placeholder. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 6 is 12. Put down a 2. Carry a 1. 2 times 3 is 6. And 1 is 7. We're just going to add those up. 0, 0. 8 and 2 is 10. 7, 8, 9. Keep in mind, if we have 2 decimal points, we're moving over here. We move over 2 in our answer. So X will actually be equal to 90. So the tape diagram or the percent equation gets us to the same end product. I'd like to look at the next problem with you. It says a serving of barbecue potato chips contain 150 calories. So that looks like it's the total. And 90 of those calories are from fat. So 90, the part, is from fat. About what percent of the calories are from fat? Round your answer to the nearest whole number. So we'll have part equals percent times the whole. So here, my part, the amount that are from fat, is 90, equals, do we know our percent? See how it says what percent? The word what tells us that must be the X. So X times, what's the whole? What's the entire amount of calories in the serving? 150. So to find X, to solve for X, if X is being multiplied by 150, that means I'll divide both sides by 150. And on my calculator, if I do 90 divided by 150, 90 divided by 150, I come out with 0.6. 0.6 is equal to X. It says round your answers to the nearest whole number. That's interesting. There's no rounding that even needs to happen as long as I divide it correctly. 90 divided by 150 got me 0.6 as a decimal, but I need my answer as a percent and round to the nearest whole number. Well, 0.6 is 60%. That means 60% of those calories are from fat for those barbecue potato chips. We could have done a tape diagram. We would have known the total was 150, and we would have figured out 90 is what part of it. That would be tough to come up with the percent. You wouldn't know how many boxes to chop it up into, but you could give it a try. For the last one, again, I'm going to focus on the percent equation because as soon as I see 28%, that might mean that I have to break my tape diagram into 100 parts, and each part would represent a percent, and I'm not about to draw a tape diagram for this one. So I'm going to focus on the percent equation. It says Shannon paid $8,400 in federal state income tax last year as a lab technician, which amounted to 28% of her annual income. What was her annual income last year? How much did she make last year? So we're going to use the percent equation. She paid that amount in taxes. That was 28% of her annual income. What was her annual income? So we're actually looking for her total income last year, or the whole amount she made. So we know our part that she had to pay in taxes, because you only pay part of your total income in taxes. You can't pay more than you make in taxes, so it's just part of your total income. So the part is $8,400. The percent, now you remember, to use the percent equation, we have to rewrite our percent as a decimal or a fraction. I choose to rewrite as a decimal as 0.28. You can choose to rewrite it as a fraction as 28 over 100, and then you could always simplify that, times whatever the whole is. Well, we don't know the whole, so we'll call that X. We don't know the total she made. And now I just solved this equation. 0.28 is multiplied by X. How do I solve for X? I would divide both sides by 0.28. And so I have 8,400 divided by 0.28, and that gets me 30,000. So she made $30,000 as a lab technician last year. Could you have made a tape diagram and broke that tape diagram into 100 parts and known that 28 of those parts represented 8,400 and found the total? Yes, you could have. Would it have been time consuming? Yes, it would have. So that's why in 7th grade we move towards the percent equation when our percents aren't nice percents. Nice percents like 10%, 30%, 25%. Percents that it might be easy to break down into a tape diagram. If we don't have that, if we have something like 28%, we're going to focus on the percent equation. So hopefully that helped with homework tonight. Try to have